Welcome to the Countries for Kids podcast from Case of Adventure. I'm Karyn and I'm so excited that you're listening today. I'm going to be reading from A Clash of Swords in Scotland from our Scotland Adventure book. To find out more, go to caseofadventure.com. I'm continuing with Chapter 9, Journey to Iona. Donnie organised tickets for their journey to Mull, after which he took them on a slow walk up to McCaig's Tower Coliseum. Grass and stone pathways crisscrossed through the centre, and there were stunning views of the quaint little town and the ocean below. They learned from Donnie that the tower had been built by a local tycoon in 1900 as a memorial to himself. Donnie led the way down the hill and along a side street where they were confronted with a big purple sign with white writing, "The Oban Chocolate Company." Chocolates were displayed in pretty boxes and tied with ribbon. The shop was filled with creative handmade treats. There were amusing signs written on chalkboards to describe the different products. One sign said, "Haggis eggs. Haggises only lay half eggs so they don't roll down the hill." Next to the sign, a selection of coloured haggis eggs in milk, dark and white chocolate were displayed. The eggs were colourful and speckled as if to imitate real haggis eggs and were filled with a mixture of caramel, cream and praline. "So haggises are actually real," Jake exclaimed jokingly. Another sign said, "Money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you chocolate." A board in the window had "Fish and Chips" scrawled across it, and nearby were clear plastic boxes containing giant milk chocolate fish, and next to it long white chocolate chips. They also found haggis truffles, whiskey ganache-filled golf balls, coconut cups, and many other interesting delights. Everyone got to choose a chocolate treat. Libby and Tiffany chose hand-dipped honeycomb, Wren and Dad Turkish delight, Jake a haggis egg, and Rome and Mom a chocolate pizza slice, which was chocolate in the shape of a flat slice with colourful candy dotted on top. They had a quick look inside St. John's Cathedral in Oban before heading to the ferry terminal. They stood in the queue to catch the huge Caledonian McBreen ferry. Rome thought it looked like a small oil tanker. Cars drove onto the ferry. On the upper deck were rows of red plastic chairs fixed to the deck for the passengers to sit on. They climbed the white stairs to the top deck and looked out over the misty water towards the mysterious islands in the distance. Before long, the ferry was crossing the crystal clear water. The mist had lifted once again, and the children stood at the rail, watching the boats and the seabirds, enjoying the beauty around them. Suddenly, Libby exclaimed and pointed, "What's that?" Donnie came over to see the children gathering around him. "It's a shark. A couple of basking sharks, actually." "They don't seem to notice us or the boat," Wren remarked, as the sharks swam around, under and alongside them. Massive and silent, they were magnificent. "These harmless sharks grow up to 10 meters in length. They are the second largest fish in the world, second only to the whale shark," Donnie told them. "They eat the microscopic zooplankton, which is found here in abundance. On some tours, you can even dive overboard and swim with the sharks." "I'd like to do that," said Jake. "It would be scary, not to mention freezing," Wren shivered. "It's so amazing to be so close to the sharks." When the mist started to come down again, many people returned to their seats or reached for their jackets. Nearer to the Isle of Mull, to their absolute delight, they saw a pod of dolphins surfing the bow wave, diving down, then reappearing and leaping into the air. Time and time again, the dolphins would pass the boat, spin on the wave, and leap up into the air, showing off and having fun. Dolphins are one of my favourites to see, Uncle Alistair told them. Minke whales are common here too. They have pale grey markings on their sides and a double blowhole. They often approach boats and they smell very fishy, so it's easy to tell when they're close. There were hundreds of cormorants and shags standing together on the rocks between Mull and another island, drying their wings in a comical fashion. There were so many of them that the children almost didn't notice the Atlantic grey seals basking on the shore below. A couple of large bulls lazily shifted position in the sun and then dozed off again. The ferry ploughed its way toward the Isle of Mull and past Duart Castle before finally reaching Craignure Bay on Mull, where the passengers disembarked. A string of mountains stretched across the middle of the isle. That's Ben More, Donnie pointed to the dominant mountain in the range. A convoy of red and white buses was returning from the Iona ferry. The Gray family, Uncle Alistair, Aunt Shauna and Donnie boarded a bus ready for their journey across the island. The road was narrow and surrounded by lots of greenery. It began to drizzle, and the windscreen wipers of the bus moved frantically, attempting to keep the windscreen clear. They passed rocky cliffs, quiet bays, white sandy beaches, blue lochs, and tiny villages. Finally, they reached the ferry point for Iona at Fionn Port. From there, it was a short boat trip across to Iona. The children stood on the boat deck enjoying the soft spray of water in their faces and the magnificent scenery. The Isle of Iona was tiny and exquisite, with a rocky spine and one small hill. It was surrounded by picturesque white sandy beaches. The main street of the village had only a gift shop, a hotel and a restaurant, with a small primary school and post office nearby. There were no cars in sight. Donnie introduced them to some of the island's history. In the year 563, a monk named Columba left Ireland in exile. In Ireland, he had hand-copied a Psalter book, which contained the Book of Psalms and Liturgies, and then had made an extra copy for himself, which he wasn't allowed to do. This led to quarrels and then battles over religious freedom. When he eventually had to leave Ireland, he settled on the tiny island of Iona. He established a monastery and a school for missionaries to spread the gospel. Many people call it the birthplace of Christianity in Scotland. This is also where a few Scottish kings were crowned and where the famous Book of Kells was produced by monks in the late 700s. The Book of Kells is now kept in Ireland at Trinity College, Dublin. You should look it up on the internet. What's the Book of Kells? Libby asked him. It's an ancient manuscript, a book written out by hand long before printing was invented. It contains the words of the 4 Gospels of the Bible and is decorated with many beautiful pictures called illuminations. It must have taken them forever to do that, commented Wren. I agree, lass, Alistair commented. It's mind-blowing. They walked up a steep lane lined with fuchsias and into the garden in front of Iona Abbey. Donnie told them, Iona Abbey is the church that Columbia started. He pointed to the beach. Martyrs Bay is where many monks were killed on the beach in 825 AD. The abbey was burned by Vikings. Later, Danish explorers again massacred the monks, forcing the community to abandon the Isle of Iona. 2 centuries later, the abbey was rebuilt in the name of Saint Columba. The ruins of the bishop's house are just up there, he pointed up the slope. They walked on and stopped at the nunnery of St. Mary. It's easy to picture it as it was long ago, with nuns in black habits walking the gardens, Mom commented. The hostess of their guest house, Heather, was a lovely tall woman with soft, serene eyes. She seemed to the children to be very kind and caring. Our family has been blessed to have lived on the Isle of Iona for generations, and we are so happy to have you stay with us. We hope to offer ye a deeper insight into the beauty and magic that is Iona. Mom thanked Heather, who, after making sure the family had everything they needed, left them to themselves. Donnie had made their dinner reservations. He arrived at 5:30 to escort them down to the restaurant. I wish we could always walk to restaurants for dinner, Jake exclaimed. It's so much fun and so pretty here, Mom agreed, though we'd probably get tired of it if we had to walk every time we ate out. The restaurant was in an attractive inn set on a small hill. They were served by a lovely Scottish couple who had lived on the island for just a few years. For dinner, most of the Gray children had Scotch pie, which is mutton mince in individual pies. Jake and the adults tried stovies, which was a stew-type dish containing potatoes, onions, vegetables, and roast beef. The meal was satisfying and the atmosphere heartwarming, the Isle of Iona finding a special place in their hearts. International Discovery Agents, this is your mission. Ask your mom and dad to take you out for a seafood meal. Eat something you've never tried before. Melt chocolate and make pretty shapes using chocolate molds. Try using different kinds of chocolate. That's all for now. See you next time.